Before you joined Phase, I want to just hear about your childhood. So you grew up in Brazil, you moved
Yeah.
here. Can you talk about where you grew up, what your family dynamics like,
Yeah,
and then
for
when you came
sure.
to America?
Yeah, so I was born in Brazil. My whole family lives out there except for my mom and my brother, who's my half brother. He's my only sibling. We have the same dad. And I didn't grow up with him because I grew up with a single mom pretty much my whole life. And my parents were never together. I remember growing up in Brazil. Like, I have like faint memories, but I do remember like vaguely what that stuff was like. But when I moved to America, I moved to Boston when I was 7. Like, I was just about to turn 7, moved to Boston with my mom. The plan was for us to stay for 6 months and go back, but we ended up just staying. And when my mom, it was culture shock.
Yeah.
Growing up in Boston was absolute culture shock. We don't speak the same language, different culture. Everything was different.
So you didn't know any English when you came,
I knew like, yeah, barely any, like blue, red, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and you were 7. What do you remember from like the first 7 years? Like,
I remember,
because I remember when you visited. I remember you vlogging in Brazil.
yeah,
You had cousins and stuff. Like, this was probably like 2013, 2012.
yeah, yeah.
And it seemed like you like had roots, like you had memories there. You know what I mean? And I remember I was like, obviously you were 7, but
Yeah.
what do you remember from that period?
From when I was before I
Before
lived
you
in
moved
Brazil.
here? Yeah.
So I remember stuff from as early as I think I was 4, maybe 3. I remember going to like land centers. Like, that's how people would game. It's very big in Brazil. Like,
Even back then.
yeah.
Wow.
And like, I would just go over there and play video games. I remember playing football, soccer on the street, like barefoot. And I remember going to the farm. My mom grew up in the farm, very poor. Like, her family was very poor, but it was nice. We had this like big farm and stuff, and a lot of livestock, a lot of animals, fruits everywhere. Like, in the very center of it, there's a big mango tree, like the juiciest mangoes you've ever eaten in your life. Incredible.
Have you gone back since then?
Yeah, I've gone back a few times, but
To your mom's family?
yeah, you know what's crazy? I've taken, we can get into this stuff later, but I've taken Noah over there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, Noah, like, I've
Noah's
taken
Ruggs' former
Yeah.
cameraman.
Simplistic.
Yeah.
I love Noah. He's one of my closest friends, and I've taken him to Brazil 3 times. The first time we spent like 2 weeks there, went all around Brazil, and before that we were just in Boston. So Noah, out of anyone, even more than my fiance, has really like,
In your family and stuff.
dude, we spent time with both my like my mom's side and my dad's side. He got to spend some time in the farm. Like, bro, my mom grew up like dirt poor. She didn't have a bathroom in her house.
Yeah. Same with my dad. Yeah.
And she had like 8 other siblings in a 5-bedroom house, you know what I'm saying, with no bathroom. So like, she eventually started cutting people's hairs and becoming a hairdresser, made money, and then ended up buying like a new house for them on the property, and used to walk to school barefoot a couple of miles every day.
So crazy. How many similarities there are between your Brazilian culture and my Palestinian culture. I think
Yeah,
we felt that in the New York house and the LA house, and Tico, right? Who also grew up in Sweden.
for sure.
Like, anybody who had like a culture outside of America a little bit, it was just a different vibe. I don't know how to explain it. And there's so many similarities to like my dad's, everything you just mentioned is the same with my dad.
Right.
It's very interesting. I never lived though overseas, but
Right.
that's cool that you remember that. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting experience. Wait, and then you said your parents were never together?
No, they were never together. When I moved to America, though, it was extreme culture shock, and I wanted to learn English. I wanted to learn English, and I wanted my mom to learn it, and so I wouldn't speak any more Portuguese around her because it was harder for her to pick it up.
Yeah.
And so I only spoke English around her. I went to a bilingual elementary school, so they spoke Portuguese there too.
Oh, they did. Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was a smooth transition.
Yeah,
I
in
picked up.
Boston. That's
Yeah, I
like
picked up.
random, huh?
It was pretty random. There's a lot of Brazilians in Massachusetts, but
Okay.
either way, I picked it up pretty fast, and my mom was pretty slow to it, and so that's why I realized like I just have to speak English. When we went back to Brazil for the first time when I was 12, that was 5 years of me not speaking Portuguese anymore and strictly speaking English. And I went back to Brazil, I was mute. Like, I forgot like a lot of the language.
Mhm.
It just didn't come to me. That's when I realized how important it was for me to just continue speaking Portuguese.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it. I didn't go back for a long time after that. I didn't really keep in touch with people out in Brazil because, one, I didn't have a phone until I was maybe 13. But even when I got a phone, I barely talked with them, and I didn't go back until I was 19. And during those years, like, those are like big formative years, growing up. I only focus on my life in America. You know, I saw my life in Brazil as like like something that is non-existent.
Yeah.
You know, I only focus on what I had. And then when I went back when I was 19, it was one of the most unforgettable experiences ever. So I went back around Christmas time, and my dad's side of the family, they're very, very close, very like healthy, like good family. You know, they welcomed me with like such open arms, and like they had a big like Christmas party or something, and like a lot of the family were there, and they had a big sign that said "Welcome back, Thomas."
Oh wow.
And then there was like a big poster or whatever that they all signed.
Wow.
It was so sweet, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I wasn't used to that, and so I got like really emotional. I'm used to just me and my mom, you know, that's it, like,
Yeah.
and I always respected my dad, and he's always been like a good man and a good father from my memory, and it's so weird how I didn't really process how I was feeling back then, and I would just drown myself in video games and other distractions, you know, to like, because I wasn't conscious of it. And it wasn't until like really the last like couple years of, you know, now being a father that I'm thinking about all these things, and also being a better man for my fiance, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm looking back in my life and growing from it. And so all those emotions I was feeling, that I was neglecting, were feelings of abandonment. You know, like I grew up with like abandonment issues because I was used to having a big family, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of taken away from that, and I just had to figure it out in Boston with my mom. And my
Yeah.
mom did her best to raise me as a single mother, and she did an amazing job for what she had.
Yeah.
But she can't, you know, fill the roles of my father. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and so
So you had no communication with him like that whole period of time till you went back?
very little,
Yeah.
but he was always there, and he always wanted me to be involved in stuff. And you know, it's just wild to think about, you know, because so being a father now, I don't take it for granted at all. I want my son to have the most amazing life possible, and I want to be there for him as much as I possibly can. And you know, these things happen, you know, like
Yeah.
it's very, very normal, but it's nice to just understand it now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's hard for people maybe to comprehend, but also in those types of cultures, they have so many kids. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like you said, he had 8 siblings, or your mom had 7
Um,
siblings.
Yeah, my mom had a lot.
And like, I remember I've talked to my grandma, and like, yeah, I've had like 15 pregnancies. You know,
Wow.
and she has like 8 or 9 kids, which means some miscarriages.
Yeah.
She literally had 2 kids that died at like 2, 3 years old,
Mhm.
one at like 8 months old. But like, they talk about it like, not that it's not a big deal. Obviously, they were sad about it, but like at that time in the villages and stuff, like
So normal.
it was normal for like some of your kids to not make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just such a different life. So even
Yeah.
for your dad, like for you to go to America with your mom,
Mhm.
you know, hopefully for a better future, whatever. Like that's a
Yeah.
normal thing in those countries. Like my dad didn't go back for 20 years when he
Right.
moved here. Like it's sad. Like it sucks. And like, but it's normal. You know what I mean? In
For
those
sure.
cultures, it's very interesting. I mean, like
Yeah.
I've known you again this whole time. Like I never really, you know, you don't think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but-
you don't at all. And I wouldn't if I didn't have like such an amazing partner in my life to like, you know, help me want to achieve, help me want to get there for myself. And
Yeah.
for, you know, I just always neglected that stuff and kind of just put it on the back burner. Like, you know, if it wasn't important to me, which like I had no reason to think about that. You know, I used to just drown myself in video games or phase and all this other stuff. And I never really saw a purpose for understanding my childhood and who I am until like I wanted to be a better man.
It's pretty cool. In the last few years, your brother moved to America. He
Yeah.
lived with you for a couple of years. Like I
Few
remember
years.
your brother came out of nowhere. I'm like, no way, Tommy like has a brother. You know, like I
Dude.
know you have a brother, but to see him in person, shout out to your brother. He's such a good dude too. I love
No,
him.
he's the man. I love
Everybody
him.
loved him.
Yeah, he's like really my father's son. You
Yeah.
know, like he grew up with my father, and
Yeah.
and that just goes to show you how amazing of a guy my dad is, because
Yeah.
Goo is, and also his mom too. But yeah, no, Goo's a great.
He's
kid.
a really good dude.
Goo's a great kid.
And then your dad also came right to America, right?
Yeah, he came recently. It
Yeah.
was his first time leaving Brazil.
Crazy.
Yeah, that like imagine that going living.
That was after Cairo was born.
yeah.
Yeah, so he got to see you. That's
for
so
sure.
sick. Yeah.
No, it was sweet.
What was that like when he came?
No, just going back to the brother thing, like I really like growing up, I always wish I had a little brother, like that Mufasa song. I always wanted a brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey,
The
shout out
new
Mufasa.
New Mufasa. Anybody who's been here for a while knows that I love Lion King.
Yeah.
Tommy's the same. He texted me like a month ago. He's like, "You have to watch the new Mufasa movie," and I
Yeah.
watched it. It was actually really good. But
Yeah. I feel like you didn't like love it like I did. You said there was something that we could talk about it later. 'Cause
I mean, I liked it, but
yeah.
not like the original Lion King.
Oh, of course. Nah, of course.
But yeah, but like in the movie. So
Yeah.
you want a little brother. So when he came, I'm sure it was like,
I found out I had a brother when I was 12 and he was 4.
wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I had no idea.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I went back to Brazil and I met him, I was so excited. You know.
Yeah.
Funny story. When I brought him back to America, it was the day after we had a Counter-Strike event in Belo Horizonte, which is like the big city in my state, in Minas Gerais. Most people, when they think of Brazil, they only know like Rio or in São Paulo. But Belo is a beautiful city, and it's 2 hours outside of where I grew up. Big, beautiful city. It's like kind of like I don't know, maybe like a New York. Anyways, my dad was there, my brother was there, my cousin from my mom's side was there, and just like family, like my stepbrother was there, and I got to see our Counter-Strike team win.
Crazy.
Yeah, we were in the finals. Thankfully, not against the Brazilian team because we had the fans now because they were cheering with us.
Yeah.
So my dad, who was my biggest inspiration, like athletically, you know, he played football all his life and just was a good man and a good athlete. And so I always wanted to like kind of show him what I'm capable of and what. So he got to see the FaZe Magic. You know what I'm saying?
He was there at the.
He was there. It was the only event he's ever been to. He got to see like the FaZe Magic and like all the fans and stuff. So that was a really special moment.
That's so sick. Yeah.
You know, winning in front of my dad. It's funny too because in that same year, my mom's only event she's been to was the major in Boston.
Oh no! Right.
And we lost that.
Anyone, whoever knows that is like a heartbreaking loss. That's like, it's not. That's like a heart stabber.
Yeah.
So your mom, I mean, I'm sure she didn't really understand what was going on, but
she also got to see the FaZe Magic, just different result. Either way, yeah. The very next day after we won, Nico was there too. He was playing, Nico and Kerrigan.